I'm letting everybody in.
Good good afternoon.
Good
Everybody,
afternoon, everybody.
how's everybody doing today?
Great.
Uh,
It's Friday.
Great, very good.
Great to,
Absolutely great. Yeah.
great to hear it. A couple of more people are still coming in. I'll give it 1 or 2 more minutes max, and then we'll begin.
Yeah, but you got all the important people here. So let's start with our good news. Who wants to step up first and tell us in 20 seconds something exciting they did with GBT this week that was productive, helpful, or got you excited?
I'll
There
go
you
ahead and go first. Yeah, mine's not really exciting too much for other people because it's going to sound like, just content that we did. But this was the first time I actually set up where I preset the content, right, to understand what I was looking for. And this was in regards to a mortgage campaign that we're doing specifically to Spokio. So some of you might know what that is, but just reaching out for that very first initial email where it normally would have taken me forever just to start with an email. This one had already been set up to understand some of the apprehensions that this was going to members that are going out as a cold call email where we've had no contact with them. And then I was able to put parameters that that they would understand that, they may be leery that we were spam, that we were a hoax of some sort, that all those things that I had set it up with when that first email came through. It wasn't 100%, but it was way more on target because it understood the perspective of the audience that I was sending it to. So I thought that was helpful, and that's what I got accomplished this week.
Bravo!
Good job. Jeff is jumping up and down. All right, Jeff, you got it.
Yeah, so I think last week or the week before I had sort of brainstormed out the idea of could we use ChatGPT to maybe provide some technical support in some situations, maybe not to end users, maybe to some of our internal people, but could it recognize screens, error messages, diagnostic stuff, and then building that into a GPT that could maybe drill down and help people do some self-support or some self-resolutions without having to come to me or other seniors. So using the text from image functionality, I was really mostly surprised that I was actually able to give it screens, some with error messages, some without, and be able to query it and say, does it have an error message? What does the error message say? What does the stack trace looks like? That's a geek thing, but I was really pleasantly surprised I was able to dig a lot of that sort of stuff out. On the other hand, once I really got excited about it and got down the road, I think I got into some hallucinations where you're asking like, what's the customer name, and it totally made something up that isn't even on the screen. So I'm gonna have to figure out how you get the rails around it in order to get exactly what we want without getting mistakes. But that was the first toe in the pool, and the positives definitely outweigh the negatives. I'm gonna keep tinkering with it.
Is there any way for you to, well, you're not completely down the pipeline, but can you estimate how much time it would have taken you and how much time it will take you?
You mean to build something useful that I could put in somebody else's lap?
By the time you're done, right? So you've made this significant what is this going to remove from the process of completing these tasks in terms of efficiency, time saved,
Oh, so yeah, so what I envision, I can probably think of a dozen to 20 scenarios that we get pretty regularly. And even those are things where people know how to support them, but maybe they're so non-often, they're so rare, maybe once a month, once every 3 weeks or something, that even if you're knowledgeable about it, you'll forget. And then you have to ask somebody, what do I do? And things like that. So if this can be optimized to handle even some of those, it will save just lots of people 1 to 3 hours maybe per time it gets used. And even better than the hours that it would save, it's sort of the context switch, because every time that happens, somebody like me or somebody else has to put down what they're doing to go help with this. And if we can make that a little more self-serve, even a little more self-serve, it'll buy us back massive dividends. As far as the amount of time I see probably having to put into it, I think I think to get something useful from where I sit right now is probably another 10 hours or something. But while that may sound like a lot, I could burn that 10 hours in the next month just helping people individually, right? So just cobbling together some side time to put this together is something that would, over the course of the coming months, buy me endless, endless support. It's immeasurable down the road.
That's phenomenal. I mean, that really is. I mean, that's the entire purpose of what we're doing here, right?
Yep.
Is to take the time, whatever it may be, to map it out, test it, iterate it, dehallucinate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with the expectation that it started off at the very beginning, because that's a perfect lead in to today. But I don't want to get in the way of other people sharing their wins. But that's inspiring to me. Congratulations.
Cool. Thank you. And thank you for having the class. I could read about it and I've tinkered with it and stuff, but you've helped jumpstart the whole thing. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Who's next? Ah,
I can do it.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. In my job, I using ChatGPT for more research, basic to make code for SQL and Python for business intelligence, but can help me to reduce the time consuming to figure sometimes some type of code, or sometimes I forget it. It's not in my mind. And I using ChatGPT like a super encyclopedia. Like I don't like to take 3 hours to figure out something on the code to not get it. Then I go to that ChatGPT and research and get some ideas or something specific. He give me the right code, and then I can save time. And save time is save money. That's what I'm using. Basic that.
Very good. Very
That's
good.
awesome. There were three things I took away from that. Save time, but you said that it either gives you something specific, meaning usable, or gives you an idea. And often the case is when I use ChatGPT, while I may not necessarily get the specific thing I'm looking for, it prompts me to get an idea, it takes me in the right direction, and I'm off to the races. Or it gives me something specific and I go, well, I'm not going to stop there. Let me just keep on iterating until I get the actual deliverable. Right. And then if it's really something that I know that I do on an ongoing basis, the next thing I'm doing what Jeff did. And I'm saying, I'm going to build a GPT. I will never do this again. Right. And then today we're going to talk about something that a more complex process that involves many steps, many deliverables, and conceivably other members of the team that you do over and over again. And that is complex to build out 100x tool. But the one thing that you left out was save time, save money, and save anxiety and stress.
Yeah, that's correct.
I mean, it's agonizing when you're in the middle of a deliverable, right? And you go, oh, crap. I mean, I know that. I know I put that somewhere, or I know how to do this. I don't want to do what I did the last time to figure this out. And you're like stressing, you're on deadline. And now all of a sudden you can get immediate access to it, which that alone, creates at least peace and tranquility. Okay, who's next? This is great.
Who's next? Who's next?
This is Carl. I can go next. So for me, I had some use case for using SQL and helping me write a query where I was going to do a rolling 12-month period. It kind of gave me an elegant way in SQL using a month offset with a union and a with clause that actually worked really, really well. So that was kind of neat to see. And then, of course, I've used it with some other code where I need to do some JavaScript. So I might need to make some integrations, and it's just a quicker way to at least kind of get me going. And then I can kind of fiddle with what I need from there, but at least it gives me kind of a baseline, and then I'm building off of that. So I don't have to kind of think about how I'm going to put it together. I ask it to put something together for me, and then I'm building off of it.
Fantastic. Great for sharing. Carl, that's great. Thank you. Who's next?
I'll step in. I use ChatGPT to help. I had researching some ticketing systems for AutoPayPlus, had it narrowed down to 2 products. I asked GPT that I was struggling with trying to to pick the best one for our company based on our needs. And it spit back a very high level diagnostic pro con versus of the two products in mind, and reassured myself of the right pick that I think I'd like to make going forward.
Oh, that's awesome. That dovetails into the question I was going to ask everybody by show of hands. Are you taking advantage of some of the meta prompts and or the structural approaches to getting solutions, i.e. who am I context, and or just blindly going, as I think you just indicated, Tom, I got a problem with this. What, can you help me? Right. And ask what question should I ask you? Show of hands. Has that been helpful, or have you been using that? Great. Glad to hear it. All right. Who's next? And then we'll get on with it.
Go. You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I used it to help me write my milestones for my rocks, which saved me a lot of time.
So did I.
And then I also used it for ideas of what to make in my position for a GPT. So brainstorm.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else? I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Give you a little show off. I wrote 3. One of them is I'm really proud of. I took Santal's The Art of War book. I built that in as a basic knowledge, and I did some work to tell it to be modern and apply those philosophies in modern business world today, referencing all the sites and how it applies. Who are the business owners that use it and use their philosophies? Came out quite nice. It's still a building, but I'm rather proud of it. I had to build up a big knowledge library, but it's really good. And the other one I did was a CFO Maestro. That helps me to do some financial analysis. And of course, the COO Maestro to follow up behind that to help to solve some operational issues or give some ideas. And my last one, that's 90% that I'm working on that will help the whole company. I created a Traction Pro, the knowledge base being all EOS. So, I'm rather proud of that one. It's a working process, but I'm proud of that.
Come on, Don, you're falling asleep at the wheel, man. Like, why don't you really do something?
Yeah, really. Yeah, and I kept my day job too while doing it.
Yeah. Well, this process of starting up the training with everyone sharing what they've done not only is inspiring, but instructive and supportive of everybody else on the team. The more that we hear each other doing the things that we're doing and the results that we're getting, the more incentivized or motivated we'll be to take advantage of it. But it's pretty extraordinary world that we're living in, and we're just at the forefront. The famous saying is AI is as bad as it's ever going to be right now. Oof. All right. Anybody else that got a good one before I move on? Okay. I've been
See my
requesting.
hand?
Hey,
Oh, I'm
Pete,
sorry. Go, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right here. Hey, Pete. I did a chat GPT. It's called the Business Continuity Assistant. And basically what it's supposed to do is we're able to plug in a call log, previous historical call log into the chat GPT, and it's going to tell us how we need to staff to keep under a 4-minute queue wait time. So that's still an evolving thing because it gets hung up in the reports, but I think I'm almost there with it. And it's going to be, obviously, it's going to help us be more efficient as far as scheduling breaks and lunches and what the appropriate number of staff we need to make sure that we get the proper lift in the operational environment. That's it.
All right. That's awesome. So are you may be the very first one to build, well, I guess Jeff also building an actual tool, a GPT, a custom GPT.
I'm known as Jeff Jr.
Well, that is fantastic news. I mean, let me just ask you a question before we move on. I mean, how does that feel to you? I mean, what's your personal experience of thinking about the thing you wanted to do and then building it and starting to see the result?
I will say that at first it was a little daunting because you really, until you get into the chat GPT, you don't see how user-friendly and easy it kind of is. You just got to spell out some of the framework. Now, I'm getting better in the meta stuff that you were talking about. That's why I said it's still work in motion, but it feels good to know that we can start with nothing and then have something that's decently usable first time out of the gate. You know,
Wow,
and
thank
like
you.
you said, it's going to be the worst it's been right now. As I enhance, it's going to get better, right? So
Indeed. Well, as you improve in your understanding and your mind gets retooled, which is a big part of what we're going to do today, in terms of premeditating process and understanding the steps that you would naturally take it before AI ever appeared on the scene, mapping that out, and then letting AI give you the examples of what steps, what deliverables, tasks, and assignments to other human beings, what they are and what can be done with it. This is what this is next all about. When I'm talking about AI is the worst it's ever going to be, the recent spring release was 4.00, standing for Omni, and we all are waiting with great anticipation end of summer, beginning of fall for ChatGPT 5, and everyone and their brother is going to be talking about AI agents, which conceivably may eliminate some of the knowledge, expertise that you've gained up until this point and until then. But it won't eliminate it altogether. What the upcoming functionality will include is the ability to automate outside functions is the thing that we're all hearing about. I'm going to do a separate session with you all on how to use existing third-party software to execute external programs and other actions. But when agents show up, conceivably, not only will you be able to do everything that you're doing right now, but it may be able to do something 100% automated, like calling out to your autoresponder or making an entry in your CRM. It can do that now, but that usually takes the intervention of an IT person with programming skills. So great news on all of that. I was also requested, and I don't want to forget, so I'll do it right now. I have 1/2 hour one-on-one sessions on Monday at 1 p.m. They are going fast. However, there is a slot open this Monday coming. Some of the slots thereafter have already been taken. But if any one of you have a desire to spend a half-hour one-on-one focusing in on work at hand that you're trying to accomplish and want some more tutoring, if you will, refinement, fine-tuning, that's what those sessions are for. And you'll see, I guess, Lindsay or, yeah, I think you go to Lindsay rather than Don to snatch that up. First come, first basis is the way that is happening, unless Don dictates otherwise. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. And so just again, another little reminder, if you want to get the most out of the session, any one of our sessions, it's probably a good idea to have ChatGPT open, and you can go along with the same prompts that I'm using if you'd like, or if you already know showing up to a training that you've got something you want to get done, you can drop in your specific roles and your specific objectives and definitions of deliverables. Okay, the other thing, I'll make an announcement further. Everyone has at least accepted the invitation to the Slack channel. Very few, if any of you, have used it to get any troubleshooting from our end, our team here. Feel free to do that. I only request that if you're using the Slack channel, be in the middle of something you're actually doing when you're asking for guidance rather than a hypothetical. But if it is a hypothetical, that's in the way of you deciding to do something in real time, go right ahead. But the Slack channel is there for more immediate, I see you, Kathy, one second, immediate feedback and help from our team. Go ahead, Kathy. You're on mute.
That's what I was going to ask for, just a high level, couple of sentences on what Slack is, so that I had a concept of that. But it looks like that's where we go for help.
Yeah, it's a communication channel. You are in it. You got an invitation, so you did accept it. And essentially there, you can communicate with any individual there in the Slack channel that's in the group, this group only. And then there is a Slack channel, which is AutoPayPlus. So if you want to direct message me, for example, or you just wanted to put it in there to get feedback from our team, or perhaps at the same time input from members of your team for something that you're working on related to what we're training on, that's the place to do it to get a fast response rather than waiting until Friday at 1.
Thank you.
Okay, doke. Everyone sees my screen? Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Good, thanks. Okay, here we go. Our agenda today, we've already dug into it. Going to go and review the program very, very quickly to just get the understanding of how we're building on the steps that take place each week. We're going to get right into the Blue Belt training, give you your homework, link again to the certification and any Q&A if we have time thereafter. So short stories, everybody knows White Belt was learning more of everything that AI can actually do. Everyone stops seemingly, or vast majority of people stop at text in, text out. We covered that. Then we did the yellow belt in 2 parts and using it in your role, giving you a contextual type of prompting for one-shot prompts, chain prompting, and to begin using it effectively in your specific role. Then we moved on to a more complex sort of understanding of how to use it in a prompting format again, to become essentially your sidekick, right? A cognitive super assistant. And last week, we went through the first iteration of building custom GPTs, AI tools. And hopefully, I don't know how many people have submitted their homework and got certified in the competency. Just keep in mind, we're not in the business. This is not a university, right? This is an active business, and we're all about succeeding in the business. Purpose of the homework is to get you to do it, right? Because what happens is you'll go to the training and then the flood of demands on your time comes in. But if you have a commitment to go through the process once that you've learned and produce something viable for your role, once learned, you'll never forget it. Coming to the training is one thing, but when you put yourself to the task, as AP indicated, it forces your brain to begin to rewire your neurons and have it be a stored cognitive skill. And so today, if a GPT is designed to complete it's a tool to complete a specific deliverable, then what we are going to work on today in the Blue Belt is creating 100x tools. A short version of that would be stringing GPTs together to complete an entire plot process that you do over and over again, or many enough times that it makes sense to invest whatever amount of time, be it an hour or 2, 3, or 4, in the case of Jeff, maybe 10 hours, to have a net gain of conceivably hundreds of hours that will be eliminated through the automation process. So that's what we're going to do today. So I want you to start thinking about a process right now that leads to a defined deliverable. By that I mean, when it's done. You can look at it, what it looks like, it walks, it talks, etc., and it's finished. When the idea that the deliverable is done, that you go, okay, that's done. And think of something that's a little bit more complex, that it does in fact involve many steps or many other deliverables, and may in fact engage other staff to get the job done. And we don't do that. Okay. So define a repeated complex process, identify, this is what we're going to do, right? This is the first part. This is the thinking part. Identify the tasks, the deliverable, the staff assignments that are required to complete the final deliverable. That's the first step. We're going to be referring back to this slide a number of times during the training, and it'll be useful for you to use this. And I will have this, I believe this is already in the portal, but I will be sure to put it in again, because this is a great single page that'll help you through the process of defining your own process, and then figuring out, based on the initial recommendations from AI, which is the exact prompts we're going to go through today, which of these things you want to delegate to a staff member, someone on your team subordinate to you, which things that you for sure you can relegate them to automation using AI. And again, in the event, so there's a process to every deliverable, and it's usually, but not always, sequential. Sometimes it can take place concurrently, but in the event of it being sequential, you may have human intervention with one of your staff members who executes 2, 3, and 4, which then requires another intervention by someone who's not you, but still a staff member, and inevitably your involvement to bless the final deliverable. So we're going to identify those steps that can be automated and identify the steps that can be delegated. And we're going to ask AI to help us do that. As both Jeff and AP have indicated, then we're going to look at the results and we're going to iterate and refine. And then we'll build individual GPTs, link them together, and create a comprehensive tool that produces a 100x productivity gain. Look, a lot of really smart people here. And when you say the word 100x, it sounds like hyperbole. But if you just listen to the story that Jeff said over some defined period of time, if he spends 10 hours and he gets back 1,000 hours of time from himself and who knows how many other staff members that have to deal with the type of problems he's describing in a 6-month period, you have a 100x tool. That's the way it goes. And so we can think in those terms. All righty. So here's the process. We're going to identify a process that you can improve. We're going to define the deliverable, map out the current workflow, analyze the workflow, design the improved workflow, and then calculate the improvement metrics. So let's just get going here. So let's identify a process to focus on. So I am at your company. Please list out the most common deliverables in my 12 most common role responsibilities. Give me 3 per responsibility. You may skip this step because you already know what you're going to do, but that's a good way to start if you're trying to organize your own priorities. So I'm going to go ahead and start dropping these right into ChatGPT, and we'll build it right on the screen. Yeah, okay. All right, somebody is not on mute. Please mute yourself there. I guess I can mute everybody. All right, so I am the marketing. Okay, let's just go with the marketing director. Here's the example. Please don't get, think of your own role right now. We need to use examples. So we're going to use the marketing director. Kathy, I guess that's you, to illustrate the process. This is what the process is. So I asked it to list the most common 12 responsibilities and give me 3 subordinate responsibilities. So we've got strategic planning and execution, brand management, campaign management, content creation and management, digital marketing, lead generation, market research and analysis, budget management, team management, public relations, customer relationships, CRM management, event planning and management. So just to get a feedback from a real person, Kathy, would you say that this is a reasonably exhaustive list, or that the majority of these areas and the corresponding responsibilities associated with the main topic are consistent with what you've got to do in life?
Yeah, and I would say listing it out that way helps me to not overshadow or think beyond what my initial go-to, which would have been about 3 of those. So I think that's a really good list.
Okay, good. So we're on the right track. All right, now here's the next thing that we're going to do. Let me go back here. So now what we're going to do is give me a table with 3 columns. The first column will be the title of the deliverable. The second column will be an AI efficiency score, which is a number based on 1 to 10, based on the ability of AI to help make the deliverable more efficiently. And the third column is a description of why you gave it that score. Ignore the human/creative element and focus on efficiency. So I want everyone to really ponder that for a moment. That's a very short, but very brilliant piece of text. We are asking AI to rate itself on its own ability, specifically to produce a gain in efficiency. We are instructing it further, for clarification, to ignore the human creative element and only focus on efficiency. Then rank them from highest to lowest. And there'll be 36 deliverables in your original list. Why? 12 times 3 is 36. Please list them all in a table. Here's an example. The deliverable is, and it's funny, Kathy, you just talked about this to some extent, a follow-up email sequence. The clients, in your case, it was cold. The AI effectiveness score 9, rationale. AI excels at producing written content, basic graphs, and even video scripts efficiently. So in other words, I gave it an example of what I wanted to look and sound like. Okay, so I believe I have copied that, and I'm going to put it in there, and we see what we get next. Dun 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 dun. Well, let's just hope that it's doing what it says it's doing. We're not going to have the 3-hour outage that took place. There we go. Okay. So I have created a table listing your 12 most common role responsibilities with 3 deliverables each, an AI efficiency score. Now, if those of you who were using ChatGPT previously will notice that this looks different. Raise your hand if you now see that it looks different. Yeah, okay, good. And this is why. What it is now doing for us is creating an expandable table. And look over here. We now have a download icon so that we can download the table itself, which, if you ask me, is pretty darn good. It's if you've been using it the other way for a while, for example, I was a little confused because I got used to seeing it in the continuous flow of the output from the prompting, but it turns out that this is a much more efficient solution, particularly when I want to download tables right out of the chute rather than copy pasting. So here you see what we asked for, right? So annual marketing plan, project timelines for campaign execution, and we have 8, 7, 7, 9. So this failed to do one of the instructions. It happens sometimes. I don't know why. Sometimes I have to go back and rewrite it because I asked it to give it in descending order, and this is in random order, but so be it. A SWOT analysis and market research for reports. I also want to point out, if any of you have to do a pestle or a SWOT analysis or a number of other tools that we have in the portal, already designed GPTs, use them. They're there for you. And let's see here. Good. Let's go back. So now we are going to we want to ask for a sample template for one of the deliverables. So I'll just go back and I'll let Kathy pick one of the deliverables. Anyone you want.
Oh, goodness. Oh, number 5.
You want number 5. Okay. So be it. I wonder why it does that. I haven't seen that before, but in any case. That was number 5. Give me a sample template for consistent brand messaging. I have no idea what it's going to come up with. We'll find out together. Okay, Kathy, you'd be the judge. Is this useful?
Yeah, it went really fast for me to read through it, but
Okay.
there's definitely some stuff in there that was pretty close to needing little rework.
Okay. So the next thing that we want to do is go to the keynote presentation. All righty. There we go. Remarkably, our experience, my experience, our clients' experience, our entire staff's experience is that AI will actually underestimate its ability to help, not overestimate it, which can be relevant. But we really only want to focus on efficiency and leave. So when this process is going on, I fell victim to this in the beginning myself, and I know many others the same way. So I just asked Kathy, does that look like what would be a satisfactory brand messaging format, right? Because I asked her for a template. You looked at it, you're like, yeah, that can help, but maybe you're like, you already know in your head, right? Because you've been doing this for years and years and years. You're an expert. That it's not exactly the way you would do it. At this stage of the game, try to ignore some of the content components of that AI is introducing to you in the deliverable. You can get to that when you're doing your iterations and your refinement. Right now, again, we are endeavoring to create the maximum level of efficiency in the process by refining, by either automating entirely or giving to someone on staff in a subordinate position the job of getting that step, that deliverable that contributes to the final deliverable done. So I can remember a number of times where I'd see something and go, yeah, you know, my God, that isn't really exactly right. It's really good. It's like 70% of the way there. And the next thing I know, I find myself 20 minutes later trying to refine it down to a perfect deliverable. And that's not the point right here. Point right now is even if you left it the way it was and it wasn't perfect, but you had 9 steps in a deliverable and each one you reduced by 80, 90%, wow, it's a win. And then as AP pointed out, okay, I'm going to go back. I see now that there's more to do. Get it done, though, is the idea in this process building. That's what this is all about. Okay, so now we're going to define the deliverables. And let's see what we got here. We already covered that. And we want to map the current workflow. So give me a detailed step-by-step instruction and create a world-class completed version of this deliverable. So it's just the one that you selected. And in each step where possible, refer back to experts in the field who have suggested doing that step in a particular way. So there was this Cornell professor that recently gave an generative AI training lecture using generative AI in sales and marketing. Recent, one of our team members attended. And the professor said something interesting, which was, in the past, when we were in a position and we wanted to research frameworks, the most ideal, optimal framework, we would read books. And then after reading books, we read books and we went to the internet and then we got book summaries and all of that. But by now, I think there's something like a ridiculous number of 400,000 business books generated every year as tallied by Amazon. The short story is the cream rises to the top, and there is a book and an author or a study like Good to Great was great because it wasn't the voice of one author, but an exhaustive study of Fortune 500 companies. Anyway, long story short, we can find these frameworks instantaneously by simply asking AI to do so. So when we are creating this world-class version of a deliverable, any step that is possible, we're asking it to refer back to the experts in the field who have suggested doing that in a particular way. Or you could substitute the phrase using a particular framework. So I will copy this. I can just copy it right off of here. Yeah. Okay, so it's already 1:41, so I'm going to move a little bit faster than I have and not ask you to sort of validate this or not. And just assume, for example, that it's sufficiently defined in such a way that it's a perfect starting point for you to go and build your GPT. So understand this process. We are starting the process of building a 100x tool. 100x tool is typically a number of GPTs chained to one another. GPTs and assignments to staff members to complete a process, complex in nature, that has a important final deliverable, ideally something that is done over and over again. We're starting off with prompting, and then we're going to move over to building individual GPTs, where indicated in the case of the slide that we have, a 9-step process. Okay. Now, so I want you to notice here that, for example, it says gather customer success stories, collect testimonials and case studies from satisfied customer, blah, blah, blah. Then reference Donald Miller's building a story brand. And so it did what we asked it to do. Create a brand style guide. References the brand gap. If it were me, I would probably be using Primal Branding, and I would have told it to do that in when I'm building my GPT, because that's my favorite book on branding. So now our next step is so we are here, and now we're moving on. Give me a detailed step-by-step work instruction to create a world. Okay, we did that. We're going to revive the step, how you currently do the work, how you'd like to work process based on what you have learned through this process. Again, you may decide at this point to refine it because you already know hey, that sounds really good, but I would never do it that way, dude. I've been at this for 15 years. This is what I do in that step. Fine, make the alteration. But our next step here for AI is give me detailed instructions on how to optimize each step of this process in 2 ways. First, tell me how I can automate that step with generative AI. Assume I can only work inside of a tool like ChatGPT without access to connections to other resources other than what is possible right out of the box, which we will, of course, change that later when we give you the instructions on how to call out to other programs. And then second, to the extent that I cannot fully automate that step with AI, tell me how I might be able to delegate that step to a team member, like a lower job title, an intern, a virtual assistant. So again, rather than try to figure it out, we'll let AI suggest to us how we could get someone down the food chain on the org chart to get that step done that AI can't complete in its entirety. So I will do the same thing here and copy paste this. So here we have it, right? So brand name and tagline. So it's telling me that I can, with generative AI, complete a step entitled define your the brand name and tagline. So use GPT to generate multiple brand names and tagline ideas based on the brand's mission and values. And it gives me the prompt examples. So I can use it, and I'm going to use it when I build my GPT for this. Generate 10 unique brand names and taglines for a company that provides innovative financial solutions aimed at empowering individuals to achieve financial freedom. And it's giving me these ones because rather than just say I am a marketing director, I'm a marketing director at AutoPayPlus : https : I do that often. No one taught me to do that. It's just become a very effective way to get it to stay in line. This version of ChatGPT, that is the Omni version 0.0, has memory. So it does that, but intermittently. So I take the time of just writing one more entry and put the URL of your company, our company, in there. And I just want to point out that, for example, this may apply to more than Kathy, but I just yesterday was confronted with coming up with a tagline for the header of a landing page. And my problem was it was too many words. And I spent foolishly, because it has become a reflex for me, immediately go to AI, but I don't know what, I lost my mind. I spent 15 minutes trying to rewrite it myself and getting more and more frustrated, at which point I went, what's wrong with me? And I asked it exactly this prompt: give me 10 versions of this, which was 2 sentences long. I needed it in 10 words or less. It gave me 10. 8 of them were not usable, but 2 of them were usable, but not in their entirety. And I combined both of them for a perfect 10-word header that fit inside with the font size that I had selected. I probably would have walked away from it, been frustrated, and I never would have nailed it. Because the moment I saw the way it wrote it, I went, oh my God, that's it. It wasn't that I didn't know what to do, and it isn't that I'm not a good copywriter, but there's a famous saying, I would have written a shorter letter if I had more time. Okay, so what's next? And so what we've got here, where are the delegation? Now you can assign a marketing intern or a junior copywriter to review and refine the AI generated themes and messages, ensuring alignment with the brand's values. Okay, so what we see here now is that, in real life, there's some things that you would have dreamed of using automation, some things you absolutely hate doing that this is going to free you up from, and that's good and dandy. But at the end of the day, the only way that you're going to have any sense of accomplishment is when you can look at the deliverable and go, it's done. Right? And so what we're doing here is telling AI how to do a combination of pure automation and also giving us the suggestions on who to delegate to. Now, keep in mind, just because it says it can be fully automated, you personally may say, no, I never really want to delegate that. I always want to have a conversation with insert the person that you want to talk to. Okay, we're moving along. And our next step. Okay. So you can revise the steps to reflect how you currently do the work or not. You can just keep on moving forward. So here we are. We've got the guidelines. We've figured it out. AI has given us a working plan, and we can decide where we're going to do this, but we return to this graphical image. Frankly, sometimes what I'll do is print this piece of paper out and then just hand write into each one of, at an angle, what I'm doing with it, delegate it, this, that, the other thing, and just see it in front of me. I would suggest that's pretty fun and enjoyable. Okay. Now look, you're at the crossroads when you get here. And it's time to decide, okay, that was a sufficiently multi-step process, that one of the 12, I think it was, responsibilities that Kathy has. And so she's decided, okay, I'm going to build a GPT for that, which may require that you go back to the green belt training. But if you have built a GPT as a result of the training, you're probably already ready to go. But the assets are there in case you need to remember. Now, one of the biggest things that we've all been confronting out here in the world and making more complex tools is chaining GPTs together. Now, I just this morning took 2 GPTs that I intended to refine and link together, and it didn't do it. It really screwed up. So we've been toying around with the correct prompt. This is the prompt that I came up with, tested it repeatedly, and so I endorse that it will work. But please don't send me a bomb if it bombs on you, because it just sometimes happens that way. But here's the most important thing about chaining GPTs together. We have found, and we have done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of custom GPTs, those that you find inside the portal. I don't know how many custom ones we have built for ourselves and built for clients who have requested them. It seems that the ideal number of substantive steps in a single GPT is around 3 to 5. And after 5, okay, call it 6, 7 for sure, you begin to see some degradation. The output begins to degrade a bit. I say it's getting better, and I say that it doesn't happen that way all the time. I recently built I don't know, I was on a roll. I built an 11-step GPT, and it worked. It worked quite well. I got an astonishing, like really mind-blowing result from it, but it wasn't consistent. The next couple of times I ran it, it actually missed a step a couple of times. It is far better to break it down into 3 to 5 steps per GPT and then chain them together. So here's the prompt. And you see that it's in all caps, and well, you can't bold in GPT, but it's in all caps. I did it exactly that way. I put it at the end of defining my context, who I am, what my deliverable is, and then before I began any of the steps, in this case, it was this was a 6-step GPT. In this case, I put 6. I ask you to call in a GPT. Do not initiate this step until you complete all previous steps and instructions. Keep the previous output in memory and launch the GPT as instructed. What was happening to me is, even though I had it listed as number 6 in my GPT, it just started off by launching the GPT, and that defeats the purpose. And then I want to tell you that I tested it even further, just in case those of you with a technical mind, which there are many of you here, I asked it, okay, did you give me that answer? So in other words, I had already launched a GPT as I was experimenting. Did you remember all of the output from the previous prompting? And it assured me that it had, and gave me some indication that that was the case. So there you go. There's another way to do it. It's more complicated and perhaps a little bit more stable, if you will, but we're not going to talk about that today. We have 6 minutes left. I'm hesitant to go through this, but I'll do it here in 2 minutes to sort of give you an answer. This is a really, really great book if you haven't encountered it. It's the Checklist Manifesto. Bad checklists are vague and imprecise. They are too long, hard to use, they're impractical, made by desk jockeys who don't know what they're doing, blah, blah, blah. A good checklist, on the other hand, is precise. They're efficient, to the point, and easy to use. Even in the most difficult situations, do not try to spell out everything. A checklist cannot fly a plane. Instead, they provide reminders only of the most critical, important steps, the ones that even a highly skilled professional would use and might miss. Example of which is a surgeon who's one of the most trained individuals on the planet, brilliant women and men, who somehow or another leaves a pair of scissors inside somebody's body. Right. So these type of critical events that really the person is way beyond and intelligent, but still can happen. Good AI instructions. So, but if we use the analogy of a plane, flying a plane, a checklist can't fly a plane, but lo and behold, an AI can fly the plane, if you want to put it that way, by actually completing tests. AI instructions, on the other hand, are precise, they're efficient, to the point, and easy to use, even in the most difficult situations. They do not try to spell out everything. The AI can fly the plane. Instead, they provide instructions of critical, important steps. So keep that in mind when you're building your GPTs. Iterate until you're confident that the quality of the output is greater than the previous human outputs, and that's where your intelligence comes into play. And we already covered this. All right. A good time for questions. And a hush comes over the audience. All right, Jason, I recall you asked the question last week. You're excellent. Well, you are in sales and marketing, of course. It's your responsibility, man, to break the ice.
The this keynote, is it listed in the Slack page?
It will be, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no, not in the Slack, in the portal. So
Okay.
within 24 hours, sometime before the night is over tomorrow, all of these assets, I got it. The video itself needs a little editing, and then I have to go through the keynote a little bit further because although we have a master keynote, I'm going to edit it for you all. I'll give you the link to this session, the keynote, and the video, and it'll be up there before I go to sleep tomorrow night.
Fantastic. Thanks.
Anybody else? Okay, I'll ask some questions. Does anybody here feel like this is complex? Raise your hand.
I believe it has some complex elements, but I don't think overall it's complex. I believe it's how you structure your thoughts and relations to this product that will help you. You know, that's just my thoughts.
That's a good insight because it's one of the things that I've been contemplating lately. You know, there's this people, you know, people who don't do teach, is a famous saying. There's so many opinions about, oh, AI is going to make us dumber. Quite the contrary. I have found that when you are operating at this level of using AI to get work done, it elevates your strategic thinking. And as you go through a number of iterations of building out a process and defining it as we have it here in the slide, what you're going to find is you're going to carry that high functioning cognitive capability into everything you do, not only in your work, but when you are planning the camping trip for you and your 3 kids. The more that we interact with AI and we have this co-intelligence, it does, in fact, in everyone's experience that we have engaged with, elevate your intelligence. Carl, go ahead. Can't hear you if you're talking.
You know, I know his hands raised.
Oh, it's weird. I raised my hand automatically. I didn't actually click anything. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, you're on the hot seat now. Say something.
I got nothing.
Your subconscious was calling out. Don't be embarrassed. Ask. Okay. Well, that's it for me. This is, I live and breathe and eat this along with everybody on our team. And it's, you know, most of our clients, after a short period of whatever they go through. So it's very inspiring to hear your success stories. Please know that we are going to make that the format. Every one of our trainings will start off. So please come prepared with, even if you think it's trivial, just what did you do? And a great way of expressing it is, this is what I used to do. This is what I did with AI. And this is what I think it means to me. I saved time. I did this. I solved the problem. And if you think that way, you'll find yourself using AI more and more. My last recommendation, which I'll make every single time I talk to you, is from that book. Always invite AI to the table, no matter how inane it is. One of our, I'll just give you a case. One of our clients does hiring, 20 open spots per week, gets 200 applications per open position. Her manual process previous to using AI looked something like this. Download resumes, download job descriptions, start comparing, sorting for the best candidate, respond to those denied, invite candidates to an interview, write the interview questions, schedule the interviews, conduct the interviews, review the answers, isolate ideal candidates, schedule second interviews, notify and provide resumes to the department heads for their final consideration, select new hire based on the job description and input from the department heads, and notify the appropriate staff, and then schedule onboarding. And if you're doing that for 20 positions weekly to the tune of 200 resumes, you can well imagine that was a job with very little sleep. So through the process that we just now described, this was certainly not suitable for one GPT, right? So she was able to create a GPT that was a collection of chained GPTs, and according to her, eliminated, 90% of the time she was spending on it was either completely eliminated through automation or effectively delegated to someone on her staff in a subordinate position that she was taking on because she couldn't trust the subordinate staff member to have the comprehension were it not already processed in one of the previous steps. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. Okay, that's it. We are 2 minutes after. We always leave. I do. That is, we've agreed to leave up to 15 minutes for anything else. And if there isn't anything else, I sincerely hope you guys have a spectacular. Oh, of course. The link for your homework. Right. What is your homework? Ah, yes. What is your homework? Okay, I'll just verbalize it to you. I don't expect you to build out the whole entire thing to qualify for your competency, right? What's the homework all about? Do something, have us look at it and certify that you're competent in it, right? So if you just map out your process in some form, you're on your video, it's like, okay, here's my process. It's these things, use the prompts that are in there to just run the prompt, get your process mapped out. You can say, I'm taking it as is, I'm changing anything, and then go and build one GPT for it. If you want to build two, so you have the experience of linking them together, excellent. But what we want to see you do is demonstrate your ability to map out the process. You use AI to define it in great detail, just as we did here today. Then select something that you're going to build a GPT for. It would be optimal when you're submitting your video to indicate, I've decided that these steps are going to be delegated to someone. The more that you do, the better. But, we don't want to watch an 1.5 hour long video. We just want to help yourself to prove to yourself that you have the competency at this level of performance. By the way, speaking of level of performance, I mean, we're out there in terms of our reach of customers and clients, and we have affiliates, by the way, that are closing and interacting with companies from your size and some smaller on up to 1,000 employee companies. And your skills right now, your competency and capabilities of using AI to get work done, you're in literally in the upper 1%. I assure you. So congratulations to each and every one of you. And Don, is there anything else before I conclude?
No, sir. I think we're pretty good.
Right. Let me put the link to the
Homework. Yeah.
if you don't already have it. And again, it's the same. And I do believe I've got it handy dandy. Looks like I don't. So there we go. For those of you who have not, I got to go to chat first. Okay, it's in the chat. I'll leave it up there for a moment so you can all copy it. But it's a very simple form. Who are you? What's your email address? Which belt are you submitting for? And then submit the URL. You can use Zoom. You can use Loom or anything you want to record yourself doing what you're doing. And are there any specifics, anything specifically you would like us to consider or pay attention to while reviewing the submission? So if you had a question there, or you wanted us to take a special look at what you were doing to give more detailed feedback, did you do it the way that was intended? That's the spot for that. And that's it. Hit the submit button, and within a week, we'll send you an email congratulating you.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, then I'm going to say bye to everybody. Don, do you have 5 minutes? Because we are, if you haven't already tested it, doing POC on the voice agent. Don?
I have 5 minutes, yes.
Okay, I'm going to close the meeting altogether so I can end the recording, and then I'll reopen it immediately. Bye, everyone. Thank you for your time, and congratulations again.
Hey,
Thank you.
Kevin. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.